Hey, I'm Mary, a librarian and book reviewer with a focus on stories written for kids, tweens, and teens. Today, I am joined by Tracy Badua and Alechia Dow. Tracy Badua is an award-winning Filipino American author of books for young people. By day, she is an attorney, and by night, she squeezes in writing, family time, and bites of her secret candy stash. She lives in San Diego, California. Alechia Dow is an award-winning author of several acclaimed young adult sci-fi fantasies, short anthology pieces, and magical, sometimes mysterious, middle grade stories. When not writing, you can find her baking, reading, traveling, and exploring her local food scene. Welcome, Tracy and Alechia. I'm so thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
So, tell us a little bit about your book that just came out.
This is
Okay.
Tracy. Hold on.
I like so we depending on when this comes out, earlier this week we just released They're Just Desserts. It is the follow-up to our first co-written book, Cookie Crumbles, which is over here. And it is about Lucy and Layla, two girls who bake and solve mysteries. So in the first book, they're at the golden cookie competition at a boarding school, and in this one, they are going to the Holly Jolly Baking Show, which is in a tent. I wonder if you can see it here. It's in like a nice tent, and it's very reminiscent of some other baking shows you all might be familiar with, but we decided to take a reality show angle, so that's what They're Just Desserts is.
So fun. How did the two of you get connected as authors to co-write these books together?
I will answer this one. Tracy and I, 9 years ago, met, I know, on a website that was matching authors who needed critique partners, somebody to read their work and help them make it better. And we connected through there. And I don't know, 9 years later, we've read all of each other's work. Like, I know every story she has published and every story she hasn't yet. I know all of your secrets.
You have so much
Um,
on me. Oh no.
you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that before.
Oh,
And so since then, I think we've just worked together and we decided one day that let's try a book together and let's make it a mystery and let's make it kids. And that was it. It really was just so simple.
That's so fun. So, also, I'm curious, you have two different perspectives that come into these stories, two different characters. Do you each write separate characters and work them together, or do you do it somehow in tandem in a different way?
we each write one of the points of view, but I think what works really well with me and Alicia are that we dive into each other's chapters too to kind of make sure there's consistency and like that like we know what the characters are doing. So we each write one point of view, but we I don't know, we check everything and make sure it meshes well.
Well, that definitely comes through in your writing, I think. That makes it hard to tell who's writing which one. So, good job. What made you want to write stories for this age group?
For me, I am also a children's librarian. I used to be a children's librarian, and I went with a concentration on public librarianship, specifically for children and young adults. So I had to read a lot of books, no doubt like you do, um, in middle grade especially. And back in the day, not that long in the day, I don't want to talk about how old I am. Um, but it's
Right,
been
when
a
we met
while.
9 years ago, you were also 9 years old. So
So
the math works out. The math works.
Oh, yeah.
um, I had to read a lot of middle grade for library school, and I loved it, but there wasn't enough of it. And I always thought one day I would get a chance to write in that age group. And then I went right into YA first. But then somehow like things matched up that I got to go into middle grade, and that was really exciting because I know how important middle grade is for children, especially because it's like this the jump off for literacy. And you want them to become readers at this age, and you want them to read for fun. Because when they're reading for fun, they're more likely to keep it up. So it's such a great honor. And always it makes me very nervous too. So I'm like, I want them to love it and I want them to read the next thing. So I love writing for this age group, but I'm very conscientious about what I'm doing. And I honestly I look a lot toward Tracy because she has written more in middle grade than I have.
Well, and it is really I think that's where my voice like writing voice kind of settled. Um I feel like a lot of us who kind of got started writing fiction at the same time all gravitated towards YA because like that was the
Yeah.
thing. My YA was like, but my middle grade I think is where I was really able to develop that voice and develop that kind of like fun brand sort of. So I stuck with it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to write middle grade, and I think you can weave in a lot of just really cool stuff, not take yourself too seriously. Like I really enjoy the middle grade space.
Absolutely. I agree with the things that you're saying, seeing that there wasn't a whole lot of middle grade when perhaps we were middle grade, but we won't get
Yeah.
into that timeline specifically. Um,
Right, like a couple years ago.
a couple
Mm.
years
It
ago.
wasn't that
Um, but that now there's so much that can be done in middle grade, so many feelings that can be investigated. And even as a grown-up reading middle grade, I'm like, oh, I wish had been able to investigate these big feelings in a way that is safe in this book and then be able
long.
to translate that to my real life. So thank you for being voices in this space. I think a lot of young readers are getting a lot out of it. Do you do any sort of research or preparation before the books that you write? And I know you both have written many books, so we can focus on these two in particular. But do you do any research before going into it?
With the cookie crumbles and they're just desserts. I think I had an easy time going into the baking because I have my bachelor's degree in baking and pastry arts. So I could use those skills. But when it came to mysteries, that's when I had to do a bit more research and I had to rewatch like Murder, She Wrote and some of the big classics, where you had to do the whodunit. And then I had to find out the formula. We both did. We had to look at the formula of going, how do we weave in red herrings? How do we make sure that you don't know the answer? And usually that means you have to know the answer, which is really hard. Um, so I had a lot of fun researching. Tracy, I think, did some fascinating things that really helped us with their just desserts, especially.
Well, so I it's so interesting that you talk about how we had to had to relearn or like learn mystery because it is such a different style of writing than just kind of the straightforward, like contemporary middle grade I write because I feel like we got notes back from our editor that was like, you got to make it harder than this. You can't just have the character ask someone a question and they respond truthfully like all the time. I was like, oh, like that makes sense. I'm like, all right, when I'm writing, a contemporary, like there's no reason for the other characters to lie to you, but it's like, okay, mystery.
Yeah.
Um, and my fast forward way of doing that was also just watching a lot of Scooby-Doo, which is like I feel like you you get some of that zaniness in the book of just like, what are they doing? Like this must be because Tracy just took inspiration from Scooby-Doo, but it's
Scooby-Doo.
delightful.
She also had to research diamonds. She also did a lot of research about
I did. I
antiques
did.
for a bit. Remember that?
Well, so I feel like I forgot to mention this earlier, which is the key difference between They're Just Desserts and the Cookie Crumbles is the Cookie Crumbles has it's like an attempted murder, there's a poisoning, and then with They're Just Desserts, there is a diamond theft because when you think holiday baking show, you think diamonds.
It
So,
makes sense when you read it. Sure.
so we had to do a lot of research and try to weave everything in very well. I hope we succeeded.
It's fun to have different approaches to those mysteries because mysteries can happen in so many different ways, I feel like. And so not only are they solving mysteries that are fun to solve, but they're also trying to help people at the same time. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
What do you hope that readers come away with after reading your book or books or
I mean,
general?
yeah. I mean, honestly,
I,
with with this series, I really hope that people just have fun, that they come away with it with this idea of like, I don't know, that it's a cozy mystery in terms of like in middle grade. So it's not very like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, what's gonna happen, that kind of thing. It's very there's lots of hijinks, it's a lot of fun. And I just, in general, I want kids of like, well, readers of all backgrounds to be able to like look at these awesome like characters that we have and be like, these are just two kids having fun baking and busting, which is like our little
Their
saying
thing.
in the book.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think because we wrote a cast of people that, represent us and represent the world we live in, that it shows kids who are maybe from a different background that they can be the solvers of mysteries. They can be in the baking contest. They can do all kinds of things. And I love that. I love, again, that when we were younger, middle grade wasn't as you know, diverse as it is today. And we get to do that now. And we get to really embrace the audience. And we're going to pull in a whole bunch of people who never saw themselves before. And we're going to do it in a really fun way. And it's not like, and again, it's not a very serious, edgy series. It's a lot of fun and it's not meant to be taken like you shouldn't be scared. I have another middle grader. My daughter is 11 and she read that and she's like, I'm scared. I don't want to read this anymore. And I was like, it's not scary, I promise. But with this, she's like, oh, this is fine. This is fine. I'm not scared. Who steals diamonds, you know?
I know. Victimless crime.
Every time that I'm reading these, I think about the food that's being made, and I'm not a particularly strong baker. Like, there's maybe a couple of things that I can do, but I think that there's some inspiration there for especially young readers who are interested in baking or interested in finding themselves in the kitchen, that they can see possibility of that they can go into potentially this like sort of space where it's a contest of baking, or like, can you be creative and make something that might go along with it? Have you ever received any sort of correspondence from readers with things that they have created in response to, well, the cookie crumbles in this example, since they may not have read the second one yet?
I can go. My other book is Just a Pinch of Magic, and then I have the Cookie Crumbles and they're just desserts, all of which are very food oriented. So I've had middle grade readers show up in my email and saying, "Oh, I wanted to make something from it and I enjoyed this." They love the recipes in the other one and they're very fascinated by the things I have come up with in some of these books. And I'm not entirely sure that the science checks out on some of these because I had a lot more fun going, and he did this and that. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't actually know if that's possible. I could try it, but then I don't know. I think I got really clever and they're just desserts with some of these things. But mostly they really love the recipes. They love when they can see how things are made and they love food descriptions a lot. And I also have to say that in the last few years, we've noticed that younger kids love cooking, baking clubs because it is a great way to, utilize their hands and motor sensory skills and all that. So having them read these is just kind of like an extra oomph to me because it's like, woo, both worlds are emerging into one and it's great.
It's a
Yeah, so I've,
delicious
I've
way to
also
explore STEM too.
uh
Sorry.
I was just gonna say I've done school visits about the cookie crumbles and they're just desserts, and these kids are so disappointed when they realize it's just me, like the not baker, and they're like, oh, they're like, you didn't bring anything. I was like, I have lollipops. They're like, okay, I guess.
Oh man.
I know. I'm sorry, kids. It's just me. But I this brings up the fact that I do have for the release of the cookie crumbles and their just desserts, we had little recipe cards. And Mary, I'll send you one of the recipes if you wanted to post that in the show notes or on your website later.
I'd love that. Yeah. And then maybe we can get some folks to try it out and send pictures back. That would be
Ooh.
fun. Let's do it. Yeah. So as you guys are writing these books, do you happen to have favorite characters? And if so, what makes them your favorite? And I know that sometimes it's hard because when you write, everyone kind of becomes your baby, and so it's hard to pick, but perhaps you do.
It's always fun writing like the bad adults, if that makes sense. Because you get to just choose how rude or like just how terrible some of these adults are like to each other and to the different kids, the different characters. And that's always just fun to do because hopefully people don't act like that in real life and insult a child's baking, but In the book, it's a little bit okay. They're supposed to.
I would say I really loved writing. I love Layla and I love Lucy, and all of the characters have their place in these stories. I have to say, Aunt Mabel in They're Just Desserts is such a fun character because she is the opposite of the stereotype that she like you can't really figure her out as a person. She's extremely strong, but she's also very goofy and silly. So I don't know if I was writing writing myself in there, but no, she was really, really funny.
She's
And
also just like casually like an international banking lawyer. Like it's everything about her is just
like
like
everything, you're like, what?
there's our
Aunt
spin-off
Mabel.
right there is like the Aunt Mabel series.
Like, where did she come from and how many things can she do? We
Right.
don't know.
It's so fun. And it's fun to create these characters that are so multidimensional also. I feel like middle grade space is really opportune or prime space for that because these kids are finally coming to the age where they're like, oh, this grown up is not just this one thing, but like they also have this backstory that made them this way. And so it might open up some empathy for those younger readers also to be like, oh, there is more to the people that I know than I think I see on a regular basis. So that's fun. What would do you have any advice that you would give to readers or writers who are either entering middle grade space or just going about their lives? Do you have advice for success that they could use to take forward with them?
That's assuming that we know secrets to success, which I feel like maybe.
Sometimes we
But I
do,
want to,
not
I
always.
mean, I I definitely love Alicia's approach from earlier of like just reading really widely
Mm.
in what you like if you're thinking about writing in a certain space, you should know what's there. You should see what the formats are. Like with again, like we talked about mysteries, like you have to figure out what are the elements of mysteries, like how you seed things in, like what other folks are doing, just to kind of see like how it's done. So I would really suggest that if you are writing and getting started, or if you're writing something and you're stuck, just picking up some other similar works, even if it's like a movie or a book or a TV show, like that might help jog something.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You have to read, you have to refill the well, you have to consume media so that you can understand how to make it.
Yeah.
Um, and it really is just knowing your audience. I've suggested a few times to middle grade authors who are trying to break in or trying to understand like what they can do within the space to really go check out your public library, to talk to librarians, to talk to teachers in those age groups because they generally know what kids are interested in and what they're looking for, and it gives you an idea of where your place could be.
You've talked about that a couple of times of knowing your audience and kind of speaking to that middle grade age group. Do you ever do any sort of like pilot chapters with middle grade readers that you know besides your own kids? Uh, do you do any research in that capacity as you're writing and editing your books?
I don't specifically know. I mean, I will let my 11-year-old read it because she loves reading things. She's also like the most brutal critic ever. So it's sometimes I'll be like, I'm not ready for that pain yet. I'll send it to my agent instead. Um, I think it would be a great idea, but at the same time, professionally, it can be very challenging because when you have a lot of different um, feedback from different people, it can be very overwhelming to make sure you're doing it just right. And then you have to really think about what feedback actually sticks. And it's difficult in that age group because what they might dislike is, oh, I didn't like that she yelled at this person. That's what my child will tell me. I didn't like that they were fighting. And you're like, okay, but that's you don't have to like it. That's just how the story is. And so you have to kind of balance what am I doing and how can I be doing it better? And then asking, the professional like my agent and the editor, what works here?
That's and same here of me not um I guess getting feedback as I write, just because like I think I get to it too in my head about it. But one thing I did want to when I I did do a school visit, and after the fact, I'm always curious to hear kids' feedback. Like, was it funny? Did you actually like it? Who was your favorite character? That kind of thing. So with the Cookie Crumbles, it's an attempted murder mystery. In our original draft, we actually killed off the guy, and the editor was like, "No, no, you cannot kill anyone in middle grade." But we're like, "But what if we?" She's like, "No, no." But I've been doing research with these young readers, and 9 out of 10 of these kids are like, "You could have killed him. That would have been fine." So,
Edgy middle grade.
so I'm bringing that back.
Yeah, transform the genre. That's fine.
Yeah, been fine. That would have been.
Maybe
Oh, cool.
less cozy, but
That's true. Less cozy. You could just put a little like disclaimer on the front, like a cozy mystery. That's less cozy.
don't worry, though it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. So, as we have now two books in this series, do you have future plans for more installments in the story of like, mysteries and baking? And it's okay if it's a secret, you don't have to say.
We're always thinking of things. We don't have anything official to say yet, but we love the world we created. We love these characters, and I would hope one day we get to revisit that.
Okay, well, we'll keep watching and make sure that we stay on top of it. Do you have any other projects in the works individually or independently that we should watch for?
Yeah. So staying in the middle grade space, I have a book out in September 2nd. It's called Ghoul Summer. It is really just, it was inspired by, if you've ever stayed at like a hotel or a vacation rental that you thought was, you're like, oh, this place has got to be haunted. Well, this one is. So it's about a 12-year-old boy who goes and helps his grandfather move all summer, and he gets confronted by a ghost in their vacation rental who demands that they help finish his unfinished business, or he's going to hitch a ride home in their bodies. So that is Ghoul Summer.
Oh, sounds fun and spooky. Good time of year for that to come out. How exciting.
I'm excited for this one because I think I haven't read the entire one yet, so I'm like
Ooh.
waiting for you to send it to me. Um, I have a YA book, a young adult book coming out in February next year called Until the Clock Strikes Midnight, which is a cozy romantasy, so romance fantasy, about a fairy and a misfortune who are competing for a mentorship by helping or doing a mortal girl's happily ever after. It's very
Oh,
fun. It's very furry. I'm very excited about this book.
If you've seen the cover, it's amazing.
well,
It's
I'll have to
I
add
think
that.
I think it just got released like a week or so ago, but it's a gorgeous cover.
Yay! Oh, that's so exciting. I love that you both write in the middle grade YA spaces. I think that that's a really cool like transition because there's, I'm sure, some things you can do in YA that you cannot do in middle grade, and vice versa. So it's nice to be able to explore both and have kids age up with you, so they can look for familiar faces and author names as they're getting older. That's so cool. So, what question did I not ask you that you hoped I would?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a tough one. Well, so it's interesting because we were just talking about covers, and it reminds me that one of the questions that I get from a lot of kids during school visits are like, "Did you draw the cover?" I'm like, "No. If I did, like, you would have never bought this book. It would have been like stick figures, and like it would be like, is that cake or is that like a poop emoji? Like, what are you trying to do here, Tracy?" So we are so lucky to have some like an amazing team. Like Diabel Serna does the art for these guys, and I think they've also done some character art for you, Alicia, but they're amazing. So
Yeah.
no, we do not do the art ourselves. We're like that's as much as we can do. We can write the thing.
It's good. It's a
Yeah.
collaboration. Books are
Yeah,
collaborative.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a team.
Art is not something I'm quite capable at. I'm trying to think about anything we haven't gotten asked. Usually it's who came up with the jokes. I've been asked this before.
Uh,
And quite often it is Tracy. She is like, she's got the jokes ready. And then I will bounce off them. And we will ultimately, a lot of the jokes that we make while writing do not go into the books because we just keep joking to each other. And our editor at some point has to be like, come on. We have a lot of fun. But Tracy always has these one-liners where I have to stop writing and I'm reading and I just have to laugh a lot because she just will make me laugh.
I love that. We need some like deleted scenes from your books or from your writing to go along with your releases. Like didn't make it in, but we thought it was really fun. So here it
Look, we'll look around and see what we can come up with.
is. So, well, I'm so thrilled that you have two books out in the series now and that you've taken the time to connect today, considering that we're all over the world. So thank you for taking the time to do that. Alechia Dow and Tracy Badua, if their books sound like great fits for you, I hope you look for them wherever you find your books. And where can folks find out more about both of you?
On my website, I have it's just my name.com, and I have a newsletter which I've started to actually update regularly, and that's a lot of fun. So definitely check those out. You can find me also, I think, on Threads and Instagram, but I'm not as active on there.
Yeah, and you can same with me. I have my website, so tracybadua.com, and you can find out about like my books, my school visits. There's a contact page if you want to reach out to me for any reason. And I'm also, active on Instagram. There's so many now with like Threads and Facebook and Blue Sky, but I'm a little bit everywhere. A little bit.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that some more readers find you from this interview. I'm so thrilled to get to chat with you today, and we can't wait to see what else you have down the pipeline. Thank you again for taking some time with me.
Thank you
Thank
for having us. This was a
thank
blast.
you.
Thank you.